Happy Friday, everybody. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. Welcome to the weekend. It was kind of a wild and woolly week, as they say. Things went a lot of buying anyway into the markets. So let's just get started. World news, the People's Bank of China offered commercial lenders a net 800 billion won, $113 billion in US, in one-year loans Friday, a record cash injection into the banking system through its one-year policy. China retail sales rose 10.1% year over year in November, topping the 7.6% growth mark last month, but below the 12.9% consensus estimate. China's retail sales dropped from the previous month, recording a 0.06 contraction month over month. China industrial production climbed to 6.6% on the year from 4.6 in October, topping 5.9% increase expected. And to the UK, consumer confidence rose 2 points to -22, its highest level since September. Into the Eurozone, the composite PMI output index fell to a two-month low of 47 from 47.6 in November. So that's kind of the news there. Let's go on to the sector news breakdown. Costco. We got 2 or 3 things in Costco we're going to talk about, but announces a special. Let me go to share a screen. I did forget about that, so I apologize. Here we go. Move my video so I can see. We'll talk about Elf Beauty at a different time in the show. But Costco, they had broken out over here. I believe it was, 577.30, 571.26 would have been the buy point. So this would have been buy, and it kind of sold off. Got pretty close to taking your profits and save your cash for later. And then it broke out again, and it's just been screaming up there. Well, Costco announces a special cash dividend of $15 per share. I guess this is why the shares dropped today. Quarter one adjusted EPS, $3.58 versus estimate $3.42. So U.S. comp sales, excluding gas, are up 2.6% versus estimate of 3.48%. And then Costco sold $100 million worth of gold bars in its most recent quarter, CFO Richard Galanti said. The 1-ounce bars are limited to 2 per membership and sell out within a few hours. Galanti said Costco also sold a card autographed by baseball legend Babe Ruth for $20,000. So there you have the news in Costco. Move on to Hershey. That is not sweet nothings. It is down 2.42%. And if you were still in this, you must have bought 20, 30 years ago, because this has been in a severe downturn. Hershey downgraded to neutral from buy at Bank of America and sees limited upside potential in full year 24. It's down 2.4% on massive volume. Lennar is pulling back a little bit. Quarter four adjusted EPS $5.17 versus $4.60. Deliveries increased 19% to 23,795 homes. Gross margin on homes was 24.2 versus estimate of 24.4. New orders rose 32% year over year. So on to Scholastic. Quarter two adjusted EPS $2.45 versus estimate $2.65. And yeah, that would make a skid mark. down almost 12%, 11.62%. Quarter two adjusted EPS, $2.45 versus $2.65. I believe I said that already. Sorry to repeat myself. But here we go. Air Lease Corporation announces delivery of one new Airbus A321-200 Neo and one new Airbus A330-900 Neo aircraft to Sun Class Airlines. And their Air Lease Corporation down 1.69% today. Level Harris upgraded to buy from hold at Deutsche Bank, and they rise 0.86%. Nucor increases the cash dividend to 54 cents per share, and they rise on that. That looks like a breakout of that consolidation on pretty good volume. Not as high as over here, but we have been seeing some buying over there. Quanix, quarter four adjusted EPS 95 cents versus 70 cents. Beta 50.8 million versus 43.46. It rose yesterday and big sell-off today, down about 11%. U.S. Steel guides fourth quarter adjusted EPS 20 cents to 25 cents versus estimate of 19 cents, and it continues rising, and it looks like it's right into the sell zone, profit-taking zone. A little bit about profit-taking. We recommend that if you buy the stock between 20 and 25%, you take at least a third of the profit. And then if it doesn't go according to plan and it sells, that you sell. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing, but we recommend that you sell from 3 to 5%, at least a third. If it continues down, another third at maybe 6 to 7%. And if it gets to 8%, just close out all of the sale. After it, you take a third profit up here. You can take another third if it goes up to 35%, and then you've got your profit, and you can sit and just let it ride and see how far it goes. If it pulls back about 12% from, where you were at 35 to 40%, you might want to just close out your whole position. That's a little bit on buying and selling. This way, if you have a 25% profit and a 5 to 8% loss, you have a profitable business. So I'll continue looking at that in the future. On to financials. Fed discount window bans. Fed discount window loans, 2.17 billion in week ended December 13th, after 1.96 billion Fed bank term funding loans, 123.8 billion in week ended December 13th, after 121.7 billion. Capital One Financial said November domestic credit card net charge-offs rate at 5.19% versus 5.08% in October, and 30-day plus performing delinquencies rate for domestic credit card 4.55 November end versus 4.48 at October end. JP Morgan credit card delinquency rate 0.99 at November versus 0.98 at October end. Charge-off rate 1.75 in November versus 1.65 in October. So Capital One went up, JP Morgan as well. As we know, the financials have been moving up pretty good. This looks like a buy point with huge volume for JP Morgan. Webster said it will acquire Amatros for $350 million in cash subject to customary adjustments. The acquisition is anticipated to be over 2% accretive in full year 25. Consensus estimates generate IRR of over 25% and has a 5-year earn back of tangible book value dilution. On to healthcare. AADI Biosciences shares tumbled over 40%. Now we're down, looks like we're down to 56.42%. Over its experimental cancer therapy and mid-range study showed a 26% overall response rate, proportion of patients whose cancers disappeared or shrinks. That's not what you want to see. VRCA, Verica Pharmaceuticals, said its development of commercialization partner, Torii Pharmaceutical, reported positive top-line results from its phase 3 trial of its potential treatment for molluscum contagiosum in Japan. Not sure if I totally mangled those words, but anyway, people were excited about it. Huge volume, biggest volume since the base, and it's up. Look at that, 62%. That's not a bad day. AMD and technology, media, and telecom rises 0.83%. AMD, Micron, and Macom all upgraded to buy, and Intel upgraded to neutral. So Micron sells off slightly. Macom up slightly, 0.87, but closes near its low. Take a look at Intel. Tried to move higher. Closed on its low, but it still was up over 2%. ATN International expands stock buyback to 25 million, boosts dividend by 14%. ATNI. And we got a big move. It's settled around its 200-day moving average. Once again, biggest volume since the base. And this is a positive. It's up 7%. And then what do we got here? U.S. listed China stocks, BABA, up, gapping up and closing in the middle of its range, up 2.76%. JD, gapping up 4.46%. It's above its 10, 20, and 50-day moving averages now. And PDD moved up 1.33%. It says U.S. listed stocks in China higher after the People's Bank of China offered commercial lenders a net $800 billion yuan, 113 billion in U.S. dollar in 1-year loans Friday. So that's our report on the news. I was going to take a look at, yeah, JD was in the news. Can take a look at how our ETFs trended. Financials got a pullback. We got filled the gap. Where it goes from here, it may go up again. We'll just have to continue to watch. Energy sold off slightly after its big gap up and raise yesterday, up 0.53%. Oil prices given back as well. Look like they filled most of the gap there. This is a triple leveraged, actually double leveraged, also fill in the gap, most of the gap there, down 0.07%. Utilities, big gap down, fell to its 10-day moving average. Real estate, taking a little profits, fill in most of the gap there, 1.21% down. Biotech continues up, 0.28%. The stronger one fills the gap and it's down 0.73%. Our software index up slightly, almost 1%. That's pretty good for the day after declining to its 10-day moving average yesterday. Tech stocks up about 0.5% today. Infrastructure, a little bit of a pullback. Semiconductors continue to rise, up 0.47%. Airlines, not too bad considering the big gap up yesterday, holding most of the gains. Leisure activity pulling back 0.81%. Industrials holding pretty steady there. Building materials keeping most of the gains as well. Mining and metals continue to rise, up 0.44%. Home builders, a little bit of a decline. And our high beta is up 0.15%. Of course, we can't buy into it anymore, it seems, at least on a Schwab account. And here's the one we're looking at, and it's up 1.78%. Not too bad today. So let's look at our dollar, trying to fill the gap, up 0.66% today. Silver filling the gap as well. A little bit of a pullback as the dollar is strong. And there's gold. Definitely filling the gap there, down 0.92% with the dollar strong. Look here, copper issues. A little bit of a pullback in our mining copper. Southern Copper continues up. It's a little diversion there. And FCX got a little bit of a pullback. Earnings 0.52 cents versus about 35 cents. So that's a beat. That's positive. Vale, a little bit of a pullback. BHP continues strong, much like Southern Copper. And finally, with Real is up slightly, 0.37%. And our bond yield continues down 0.05%. 20-year bond yield is down 0.36%. The VIX continues pretty low. We got some low volatility, or our fear index down 1.6%. S&P 500 definitely looks like a cup with a handle over here. Broke out. We got some pretty good volume right over here. And then we got a little bit of a pullback on lower volume. That's what you want to see. And then we got a higher volume over here. And this isn't necessarily what you want to see. Big volume on a pullback. But a lot of people taking profits today. Take a look at the equal weight. Looks like it's filling the gap there. Lower volume on the selling here. That's a positive. The NASDAQ. This is definitely cup with a handle here. Jumps up. A little bit of a pullback and then just moves forward. pretty good volume today on an up day, up 0.48%. The equal weight got a little bit of a pullback, not too much. Lower volume, which is positive. So on to IWM, the small caps. Take a look at these on a weekly basis. So what I have been saying, there's usually 3 runs to really break through this resistance. So we got the first one here, second one here, and the third one. We'll just see if this can sustain and really break out to this blue zone here. This is a positive for the market if small caps are leading up. We got the highest volume since the base. And finally, Dow Jones, I believe it's the highest it's been ever. Yeah, it kind of broke out past here. So let's take a look at, see where the big money's been moving today. Bring up my screen. Roper Technologies had a big sell-off yesterday, bounces off of the 20-day moving average, up 0.5%, 0.5. Xerox, that's been a long time coming, as we heard about Xerox in the market. Big sell-off, double bottom, 17.49 is a breakout, and it broke out yesterday, and we got a strong move today as well. DocuSign, hadn't heard much about them since 2020. Double bottom, 64.81 would be the buy point. And it's up 12.46% today on massive volume. Earnings came in at a plus 39%. So that's good. Guidewire software. Highest volume in the trade. Didn't quite break out of this consolidation here, but it closed the top of its range, so that's pretty positive. Interdigital up 1.34%. Yeah, pretty good volume, biggest volume since this base here. A lot of buying. Rapid7, I believe this is also might be something with cyber technology or definitely security data and analytic solutions. Once again, highest volume since the base. So it's breaking out here. Can't really even see where buy zone would be. So 55.71 definitely went past that. Mongo DB had a little bit of a sell-off here on its earnings. Some people weren't happy with it. Huge volume here, but now it's coming back, and we'll just see where it can go from here. WP. This looks like Office Depot. 51.25 would be the breakout. It's getting pretty close to that. Volume is pretty strong. Was high yesterday and higher even today. So, and then finally, INTA, Intap, AI-powered software, still below its 200-day though, 1.75. Pretty good volume the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. That should get your attention. And where are people moving out of? Comfort Systems, down about 1% today. Pretty high volume. This is something to watch out for. It did break out, pull back a little bit, but I guess it was equal buying and selling as it kind of closed in the middle. Rambus, slight pullback, 0.74%, but the volume was really high. Be something to watch out for. Builder's First Source, got a blue dot here, new high on the relative strength line, down about 3.48%. Pretty massive volume. That's something to concern ourselves with. Uber was up earlier, and then I guess it sold off. Couldn't move higher. It already has hit the profit zone over here. So if you were a buyer over here, you definitely should have at least taken a third off. Sealed Air fell in the gap, down 1.49%, as we said. Not too much good happens below the 200-day line. Par Pacific tried to move higher and then sold off. Take-Two Interactive had a gap up, moved higher yesterday. Got some sellers that came in, took their profits. Yeah, it's a little dangerous. Highest volume seen since the base. So it's something to definitely take a look at. And Silvano, wow, look at that down. Massive sell, down 6.58%. It's not the highest volume since a base, but it is extremely high. So we've had our education session a little bit earlier. We're just going to go around. We looked at this a couple of days in a row. Looks like it was trending higher today. Was up a little higher, and it had a slight pullback into the middle of its range. We did buy 15 calls on this yesterday, so we'll just continue to watch that. I'll get to my little chart here. BLTE, I believe, pulled back. Oh, pulled back and then moved higher. ARM, which we're looking at, continues to do well up here, up 0.42%. We bought, I believe it was 64, the call options. Kava, a little bit of a pullback today, second day in a row. Volume keeps receding, so this is something that I like to see. DNN still kind of in this kind of range. This uranium play. Just continue to watch it as long as it stays in this range. We're okay with it. This is Elf Beauty, Oakland-based makeup supplier. Sells at Target. Got a nice cup formation. We bought the calls over at 120. and just kind of ride it out, see if we can get some volume and a little bit of a breakout here. We looked at Arrow earlier, a little bit of a pullback, not much to worry about there. Even the volume's a little lower than the last 3 days, so a little higher than we'd like, but we'll continue to watch that. GitLab got a little bit of a pullback here, down 3.8%. It did get into the profit zone. We're going to try to hold on here. Looked at IONQ. Samara. It's just kind of basing here. Let's see, as long as it stays in this base, sold off pretty strong and then picked back up. So it's even, looks about an even number of selling and buying. We'll just have to watch this and see how the volume shakes out. Meta Facebook up slightly, 0.53%. We had begun talking about it when it was over here, where it was bouncing up every time it kind of sold off. Tried to stay around the 300 area and said once the yield backed off, this thing was going to take off. And sure enough, it went up to 338, 342. And we got filled the gap on silver. We bought some Tesla calls yesterday as it was kind of popping out of here. We'll just see if it continues up. And finally, let's look at CrowdStrike, which we don't have. Continues strong, up 260. This is definitely the leader in this space. We'll look at a few others. As I had detailed, I had bought the calls at 155 and got shaken out when it pulled back over here. And look at this move. Palo Alto Networks was just down at Palo Alto Networks yesterday. And this is showing some pretty good strength, up 2.28% on some pretty good volume today. Sentinel really gapped up on earnings and is just continuing strong. And finally on to Zscaler, the one we have. Bought around 177.50 call. And then here's the breakout. Then the earnings came. Got a little bit of pullback on the earnings and then more of a pullback, and it bounces off the 20-day moving average and it is taking off. So that's our report for today, for the week. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them our way. Continue working on your goals and your activities. If you have any financial goals, you're wondering what activities you could take, please send them our way, and we'll catch you on Monday.